This edition of the new 26 Rainbow Powered contains 2 episodes. We couldn't fit them into 2 videos, just one. We will have a timestamp through the entire video to take you to the next or the previous episode. Please keep all hands and feet inside the video at all times and enjoy your stay.
Translate it, keep your freaking feet inside the vehicle or else you get them chopped off.
Sir, I'm gonna need to ask you to calm down.
Fuck you!
Well, hello everyone, and thanks for the disclaimer there, Dr. Spartan. And we are back with a
He's
double
Tyler's pelvic thrusting the screen, guys.
We are hitting you with, I guess, a double penetration edition of the friendship.
Oh my god, don't do that!
Why? Because we got 2 weeks behind because this guy went and had himself an excellent vacation.
Yeah, I took a week off and went to Texas. It was a great time.
But thankfully, Pony took a week off as well. Hopefully, they both became a man in the same period of time. So, we're going to talk about...
after this episode, it's a 2-week hiatus.
No, it's going to be back-to-back, I think, all the way through. But we're to talk about Thanks for the Memories, even though it weren't so great, even though it tastes like you, only sweeter. And Appleoosa's Most Wanted. And the reason...
An episode that was good, and an episode that wasn't so good.
And we're going to talk about tanks first, because episodic order and whatnot.
I was half asleep watching Appleoosa, so I'm going to let you guys do more of the talking there, and I'll fill in where I remember. I apologize for that.
But Thanks for the Memories, aka the first low-scored episode of the season. It had to happen eventually. It got a 2 out of 6, guys. And if it wasn't for the song, it would be a 1.
It would be a 1, yeah.
Okay. The song itself is worthy of a point. That's how bad this episode is. And why? Because Rainbow Dash went bitch nuclear in this episode.
That'd be an understatement.
Yeah, and I just need to say one thing. Rainbow Dash, you're an asshole. You are no longer my favorite pony. Fuck you and fuck this episode.
And fuck Konami, but that's
fuck Konami.
Fuck the show! And fuck you too!
Funny joke.
Like a girl.
Gotta love that reference to 6-shooter there. That's a nice song.
Funny jokes there. But 5 stages of grief %, which I do have to give the writers credit for talking about pseudo-depression and death. But not at the cost of making Rainbow Dash look worse than she did in Meridowell. Well, everybody was worse in Meridowell.
Well, everybody was bad in that episode. It was just bad all along. It was bad all around. This episode was kinda, sorta, but not quite.
It was just no bueno.
And you could tell from the opening skit of the episode just that we were headed in a bad place.
Yeah.
You know,
yes, no kidding. That pretty much Lionel face palming right now is pretty much sums up this whole episode. It's just
bad episodes usually start before Twilight starts the theme song. Trust me.
Usually it's rarity usually it's a rarity focused episode that's the most horrible. This time it's I guess they decided to switch off for Rainbow Dash.
No, the three worst episodes in this series, this episode, Rainbow Falls, and the aforementioned Mare-de-Well, all have one thing in common. This blue whore. Being egotistical. At her absolute worst. And for those who...
And plus, it completely cancels out all the previous lessons that she learned from Wonderbolt Academy and testing, 1, 2, 3, all those good episodes that you can think of Rainbow Dash, they're immediately canceled out with the start of this episode.
And for those...
all of it's forgotten.
And for those unfamiliar with the plot, Tank has to go hibernating. And Rainbow Dash doesn't want that. And proceeds to, well, try to prevent it.
By any means necessary.
First off, yelling at Tyler's wife unnecessarily by giving us an education lesson on... An education lesson on hibernation.
Dr. Spartan's wife, though. Oh boy, here we go with the pseudo-schizophrenia.
Here we go.
Basically, she yells at Fluttershy first, unnecessarily. Then she yells at the Princess of Equestria and fucking insults her at the same time.
Which, Twilight Honey, props for not putting her in the dungeon.
Yeah, props for not putting... Yeah, but then again, they're friends.
Getting up in the grill.
I put that in quotations because real friends don't act like that.
And angry face meme, by the way. That angry face.
I pretty much just did it perfectly.
And it's not even the only meme in the episode.
Oh no.
Because after the song, we get a delightful reference to Dr. Seuss.
And that's not all. That's not the only references. We're just getting started.
And after that terribly wonderful idea, we get a Who's On First skit with clear skies, open skies, and cloudy skies.
Which that actually made me laugh. That actually made me laugh at how funny that was.
That was hilarious, by the way.
And it's kind of out of place to have such a good joke in such a shitty episode, though.
And,
same thing with the song. It just feels out of place. It felt like it could have been put in a better episode. If it was in a better episode, it would have made the episode even better. But instead, it's propping up this one.
And then, of course, we find out that Spike does have a room in the castle, thank God.
I was really glad you didn't say Spike had a dick.
Well,
wait,
you said it, not me.
Get your mind out of the gutter.
Creatures, I guess they have dicks.
But after that, she decides to go to Cloudsdale, that moves, by the way, like Columbia.
Oh,
well, it's a floating city. What would you expect?
It's a floating city.
And
that doesn't remind me of anything at all.
And references to Fall Weather Friends and Winter Wrap-Up, and also a snowdrop blast, too, in the middle of the song.
Which most likely means that Hasbro's aware and is probably contemplating something in the future.
She goes to the weather factory, which, yes, weather in Equestria is manufactured in a lab.
Manufactured. They literally have lightning in a bottle. Yes, lightning in a bottle, thunder in a bottle, rain in a bottle. They have everything that's bottled, essentially. And they release it when it's appropriate.
Yes, and she ends up wrecking Cloudsdale and causing thousands, I'm sure, in property damage, only to see
Yay! Property! Thousands of dollars in property damage! That's what everybody loves!
They got wrecked. Yes, the MLG air horns were necessary.
But
after that comes... remember when I said reference city? After that...
Only to have my beloved Twilight make reference to the Emmy-winning Game of Thrones by saying winter is coming.
Winter is coming way too fast!
And,
before they're properly buried in snow!
Guys, guess what? Reference city, bitch. Reference city, bitch.
Yeah, only to be followed by a winter nuke. What's up with Rainbow Dash and nuking things?
Well, the Sonic Rainboom is capable of shattering rock. So...
But this
I found a rock! Great!
This is the third time in the series that we have seen a tac nuke.
I know. I wonder if there's a connection. It's gotta be coincidence.
In some way, shape, or form, there's been three tactical nukes, and one of them has been and there's a fourth that was fan-made. That was an actual nuke.
Yeah, but seeing as by evidence that's provided by Death Battle, she's capable of shattering solid rock by the force of the Sonic Rainboom, so technically it is kind of like a nuke.
I am making reference to Double Rainboom. What does it mean?
I was gonna say, I thought you were making reference to September by Living Tombstone, because that also involves a nuke.
Well, there's a fifth nuke.
So then it would count 5. Well, then it would count 5, 2 being fan-made.
But after that fails, Rainbow Dash loses all her cool points by crying like a little bitch. And how is this brought on? By Fluttershy being aggressively assertive and by saying that her winter is going to be petless. Cue crying RD, followed by crying everybody, except for Twilight, my waifu, and Applejack, of course. Why? Because Applejack cries on the inside.
Yeah, fuck you.
Thank you, Pinkie Pie, for that little bit of useless information about crying on the inside. After all that, Rainbow Dash finally accepts that the hibernation must happen, and with cutesy little Rainbow Dash slippers, which, if that's not egotistical enough, I don't know what it is.
That's all I have to say to that.
David,
that's
were you
fucking
just deep-throating yourself?
disgusting. That's so disgusting. What did you just say? You're lucky I didn't hear that.
Tank finally goes into hibernation after a bedtime story. Oh, isn't that cute? But it's wrong! But if anybody doesn't understand the reference I just made, you're not 90s enough.
That cute. But it's wrong!
This episode was downright deplorable. The writers of this episode, which sadly one of them is M.A. Larson, should be ashamed of themselves.
M.A. Larson, this is pretty much the worst thing you have ever written. Right here.
Not the worst thing, but
one of the worst things.
Most certainly one of the worst things.
One of the worst things he has ever written. It is just horrible from beginning to end.
I mean,
It
yes.
is horrible.
I mean, yes, the last third of the episode is good and the moral is good and whatnot, but it's how we get there. How we get there is driving through a bed of nails and having our
it's like saying I just walked over a bed of nails barefoot, but at least I got the fucking cheesecake.
And by the way, in terms of this episode, the cake is a lie. So
at least I got the cheesecake.
So the cheesecake is filled with dynamite. So yeah, you get the cheesecake, but it's filled with dynamite.
So I don't have to guess what your rating is, because you usually follow me in soup. But Tyler, what did you rate this episode?
Actually, I rate this episode a fuck you out of 10.
Well, okay, so...
Ouch.
We have a 2s out of 6 and a fuck you out of 10. A fuck you out of 10 averages to about a 0.2 out of 6, which we don't do points, so we'll have to...
I'm just kidding. It's a 2 out of 6.
Oh, okay.
It's a 2 out of 6.
Oh, so...
This episode is absolute... The only episode that is worse than this is Mayor Duell. And it's so bad, it actually makes me want to go back and watch that. Just to fucking... get some awfulness. Just to fucking laugh at all the awfulness that's in it.
And especially after what, Bloom and Gloom was, it was a pain in the neck. But then, the week after, and this is the time where, if you've time-stamped, this is where Appaloosa's Most Wanted would begin.
And this episode, coming out of Thanks for the Memories, this episode was a breath of fresh air. Because it was like they fucking went from 0 to 100 to back to 100.
Because we returned to Appaloosa for the first time since Over a Barrel. And if you're wondering why I always have to say Appaloosa that way, is because of Brayburn, Applejack's cousin, who is a Nimrod, but we will
and
get
has
to
apparently
that.
broken his leg in this episode.
Yes, and that's why AJ and the Crusaders are
He's not really
in
that
the
much
house.
of a Nimrod.
Or in the house. The Crusaders want to try to get rodeo cutie marks. But you see, the rodeo is being hampered by this pony who looks bigger than actual real horses, named Troubleshoes. See, Troubleshoes has been going around Equestria ruining other rodeos. And he's looked at as an outlaw, and is unfortunately in town because of Appaloosa's own rodeo, in which Applejack is taking a part of. Rayburn is forced to take care of the kids, which last all but 5 seconds, because he's an idiot.
He falls asleep and allows them to escape. Classic cartoon gag. I'm gonna watch you all day. Falls asleep and the guys and the heroes escape.
And naturally, our 3 aging Crusaders go off to find out who Troubleshoes is and try to reason with him, if there is any reasoning. After a few torches and pitchforks jokes by the sheriff, who now has a name of Silver Star, by the way. Good name. The Cutie Mark Crusaders find Troubleshoes in a hut during a rainstorm, and find out that he's about as much of a klutz as a klutz can be.
He's so much of a klutz that they could ship him with derpy hooves and it would work.
And he sounds like Eeyore. All depressive and negative.
Which it wouldn't be surprised if it was the same guy, but I don't know who's voicing him.
You see, Troubleshoes has always looked at his Cutie Mark as a negative burden of fate. not as anything positive. And we get a interesting backstory on his love for rodeo. See, the day he got his cutie mark, he was in a rodeo competition to become a rodeo pony, only to
But he
start.
couldn't get in. But the day of the audition, he could get in because he messed up. He messed up his audition because he's so clumsy. So they essentially laughed him out of the rodeo, and then ever since then, he's been living his life as an outcast.
Of course, the Crusaders, being smart and because plot convenience, discover that, well, he needs to be a rodeo clown, in which he succeeds at it, only to get arrested, only for the kids to make a jailbreak for Troubleshoes 3 seconds later. And the moral of your cutie mark can mean more than what you originally interpret to be. Just because you think you're clumsy doesn't mean a negative can't be turned into a positive, being the moral here. Troubleshoes actually acts like a good Samaritan and pays up for his crimes, but it's also,
Alright, I'm recording again.
so, blah, 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 blah. but,
Was that your imitation of a VCR rewinding?
yeah, I was.
Remember those things? Remember those things? When you actually needed that shit.
But, and so do the Cutie Mark Crusaders, because Applejack's an actual parents.
Yeah, removing things from stores does not equal parenting.
But I gave it a 4 out of a possible 6. David has echoed my sentiments. Tyler kind of fell asleep in the middle of it.
A freaky dude was next door, so I called and reported suspicious activity.
Yeah, so this next week, though,
But
a Fluttershy and Discord episode, which means Discord episode, which means John Delancey takeover %.
And John Delancey and Discord is simply the best character in this show. Undisputedly.
Period. Although I wish I would see more of my wife Cadence, but Hasbro won't
I agree
give me
too.
that.
Cadence needs more screen time. Because that's why I love Three's a Crowd, because Cadence and Discord, and Cadence not falling for Discord's bullshit.
And the last time we saw Discord, he was the mastermind to figure out how the keys worked. So that the Harmony 6 could activate the power of Turbo and
Activate the power of Super Saiyan. Rainbow Power.
And vaporize Turek. And by the way, if you didn't get the Power Rangers Turbo reference, you're not 90s enough.
Yeah, and if you didn't get the Dragon Ball Z reference, you're even more not naive enough.
90s, not naive.
Then
you're even more not 90s enough.
But okay, this is the return of the Grand Galloping Gala, which we haven't seen since episode 26 of this series. God,
I just hope Princess Celestia isn't upset with us for jizzing in the salad. Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Princess Celestia is upset with us.
YouTube poops much.
The Grand Galloping Gala is always awful. That's why I'm glad you weren't sober.
YouTube to say that. It's awful.
Hopefully we see many in Alicorn during this year's shindig.
Actually makes me wonder why they keep doing it every year. It's so fucking awful.
Most notably Celestia, because she's been gone for a season and a half. What happened? Did she fall through a dimensional portal? Did I hang her up in a dungeon crucifixion style? What did I do? But anyway, Fluttershy is going with another guest. Discord wants to go. It's kind of jelly.
I don't know. I've heard that she tried to sacrifice somebody to a former god king, so...
You know, Digimon Extreme foreshadowing that they do not understand. But what do you expect?
But essentially,
what do you expect from the episode
the plot
this
is
week?
this.
What
Essentially, the plot.
Oh, Lionel already went over the plot.
Yeah, what do you expect from the episode this week, you two?
Well,
I think the better question
basically, this
is
touches
what
the
don't you
whole
expect?
episode centers around jealousy, and Discord not trying to be jealous because he doesn't want to hurt Fluttershy's feelings, but at the same time he wants to spend the day with her, and so he's caught in a crisis of his own feelings, his own personal feelings versus Fluttershy's feelings. And he doesn't know, and he actually cares about her feelings. Let the shippers go crazy.
Like they haven't already with Discord. He's got like 4 different mates. But...
Yeah, no kidding. They ship him with everybody.
But,
most notably Pinkie Pie and Fluttershy, though.
But pretty much this will lead us into a few straight weeks of episodes, including the 100th episode of FIM. That's right, folks. Triple digits, bitch. Get a cake.
We've come a long way.
But
even though we've come a long way, Pony never changes.
Get a cake and love it. And no Fallout references here, because that's
yes, Fallout. All the Fallout references. Shut up.
I mean, it's kind of hard to stop it considering Fallout 4 is 90%.
All the Fallout references.
I really hope that Bethesda realizes that if they don't announce it, that there is literally going to be a riot at E3. Like, literally, the place set on fire.
I'll be leading the charge with a double-barreled shotgun. I'll be leading the charge to Bethesda HQ.
Talking about torches.
They may take our E3, but they'll never take our freedom!
Speaking of torches and pitchforks from the last episode, by the way, but I ordered a town hall meeting, not a witch hunt. Torches and pitchforks. But anyway, that's gonna just about do it. And if you're wondering where American Choir Boy is, he will join us next week. Because we had to rush these out because we were 2 weeks behind. Because scheduling was a pain in the neck. But the reviews are on time. Make sure to check out our review of Mortal Kombat 10. The sorta good continuation of the Mortal Kombat franchise, but
good for fans, bad for
everyone else.
Yeah.
But until next time, find peace in your own Nirvana and make sure to join me on Twitch as I Twitch Shovel Knight.
And I'm Dragonheart. Have a heart to think positively. And thanks for watching. Next week...
Well, and of course...
And next week, I'm going to jump off a building and gargle battery acid.
I'm Dr. Spartan, and take the advice that I didn't follow. Always wear a condom.
Ding.
Stop recording.